Most of us grow up believing that more health checkups mean better health. It's what we've always been told. Early detection saves lives. But what if that advice changes as we get older? After the age of 70, some medical tests that were once helpful might actually do more harm than good. It may sound surprising, but certain screenings can lead to false alarms, unnecessary anxiety, and even risky procedures that don't improve your life, especially when you're not showing any symptoms. This isn't meant to scare you. In fact, many doctors who work closely with seniors are starting to speak out. They're recognizing that the same one-size-fits-all approach used for younger people doesn't always apply after 70. Your body changes, your priorities change, and so should your care. In this video, we're going to look honestly at 5 specific health checkups that many older adults might want to think twice about. These are tests that even experienced physicians often avoid for themselves once they reach a certain age. We'll explore why these screenings are still commonly recommended, the hidden risks they may carry, and safer alternatives that can give you peace of mind without putting your well-being on the line. Because real healthcare after 70 isn't about doing more, it's about doing what's right for you. You deserve care that respects your age, your values, and the life you want to live. Let's begin. Number 1, the colonoscopy trap. For years, colonoscopy has been praised as the gold standard for preventing colon cancer. And for many people in their 50s or 60s, that may have been true. But after the age of 70, especially for those without any symptoms or family history, this routine screening can quietly become more harmful than helpful. Let's talk about why. First, the procedure itself isn't simple. It requires a full bowel cleanse, sedation, and the use of a long tube inserted into the colon that's already demanding on a healthy, younger body. But for older adults, the challenges multiply. The bowel prep alone can cause significant dehydration and imbalance in the body's minerals, 2 issues that can be dangerous at this stage of life. Then comes the sedation. As we age, our bodies process medications differently. What once wore off quickly can now linger, leaving some seniors confused, groggy, and at a much higher risk of falling, especially in the hours after the procedure. But perhaps the biggest issue isn't the test itself, it's what comes after. Many times, a colonoscopy finds a small polyp that might never become a problem. Yet, once it's discovered, it triggers a series of follow-up tests, biopsies, and sometimes even surgery. All this just to be safe. But at this age, that safety can come at the cost of your strength, your stability, and your peace of mind. I remember one case, a man named Thomas, 81, energetic and independent, agreed to a colonoscopy at the suggestion of his doctor, even though he had no symptoms. The day after the procedure, still disoriented from sedation, he fell in his bathroom and fractured his hip. Recovery took months, and the test, it found nothing concerning. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Today, there are safer, non-invasive stool tests that many older adults can consider. If you're over 70 and feeling well, it's not only reasonable, it's wise to ask whether a colonoscopy is still necessary, because good care after 70 isn't about doing everything. It's about doing what truly matters for your body, your dignity, and your life. Number 2, the annual full body scan mistake. There's something very tempting about a full body scan. The idea of having a machine scan you from head to toe, finding every hidden issue before it becomes serious, it sounds like smart prevention. But for people over 70, this approach can quietly do more harm than good. These scans often lead to a chain of events that many seniors are not prepared for. What starts as a simple check can turn into a whirlwind of follow-up tests, unnecessary worry, and even surgeries for things that might never have caused a single problem. Let's be clear. Full-body CT scans and MRIs are not designed as routine checkups. They are extremely sensitive tools that detect everything, absolutely everything, including small, harmless changes that may never affect your health at all. These incidental findings, as doctors call them, can stir up anxiety and confusion. A tiny nodule, a shadow, a spot that looks unfamiliar, and suddenly you're sent from one specialist to another, chasing answers to a question your body wasn't even asking. Now, here's why this matters more. After 70, the older body doesn't bounce back like it used to. A biopsy that might have been easy at 45 can cause serious complications at 75, like a collapsed lung, an infection, or a long recovery. Even lying still for an MRI can be uncomfortable or painful when your joints are stiff and sore. And then there's the emotional weight. Many seniors end up worrying about possibilities that may never come true. Rather than enjoying the health they currently have, let me share the story of Linda, a 79-year-old woman I met during a wellness workshop. She was active, cheerful, and felt perfectly fine. But after attending a free health screening, she agreed to a discounted full-body scan. They found a small lesion on her liver, something likely harmless. But the word lesion triggered fear. Within a few weeks, she underwent surgery. What followed was exhaustion, months of recovery, and ongoing complications for something that may never have caused harm. This is what doctors call overdiagnosis. It's medically unnecessary, emotionally draining, and often financially costly, especially since these scans are rarely covered by insurance. If you're still watching, drop a number 2 in the comments to let me know you're here. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss upcoming videos that protect your health and peace of mind. Now, let's move forward. Number 3, the overuse of cardiac stress tests. For many years, the cardiac stress test, usually involving a treadmill, has been a widely used method for detecting heart problems, especially in older adults. The logic sounds reasonable. Put the heart under pressure and see how it responds. But once you pass the age of 70, that same test can quietly turn from helpful to harmful in ways most people don't expect. What used to be a valuable screening tool in your 50s or early 60s may no longer be the right choice later in life. One of the biggest concerns is the high rate of false positives in older adults. This means the test might suggest something is wrong with your heart, even when it isn't. Why does this happen? Because the aging body changes in ways that are completely normal. Arteries become stiffer, blood pressure tends to fluctuate more, and the electrical signals in the heart may shift. These changes aren't necessarily signs of disease, but the stress test isn't able to tell the difference. It simply detects something abnormal, which often sets off a chain of further tests, concern, and even risky procedures. That chain reaction can include angiograms, catheterizations, and sometimes even stent placements or bypass surgeries. These are not without risk. For older adults, these interventions can lead to serious complications like bleeding, kidney damage from contrast dyes, or sudden drops in blood pressure. Recovery from surgery also becomes more difficult with age, and complications tend to linger longer. What began as a precautionary treadmill test could end with weeks or months of recovery in a hospital. I once heard the story of a man named Harold, a 75-year-old retired mail carrier. He felt healthy, no chest pain, no fatigue, no breathing trouble. At his annual checkup, his doctor recommended a stress test just to be cautious. The results came back borderline, and within weeks, Harold found himself in a catheter lab undergoing angioplasty. Sadly, what followed was not relief, but a series of setbacks. He developed a blood infection near the insertion site and was hospitalized for over a month. Despite physical therapy, he never quite returned to his previous level of health. That single test done without any symptoms set off a chain of events that changed his life entirely. Today, many cardiologists and geriatric experts agree that routine cardiac stress testing in asymptomatic older adults often does more harm than good. If you're not experiencing symptoms like chest discomfort, unexplained fatigue, or shortness of breath during activity, there's little evidence that the test provides any real benefit. Instead of relying on machines to search for problems that may not exist, it may be wiser to focus on strengthening your heart naturally. Gentle daily walks, heart-healthy meals, staying connected with others, managing blood pressure and stress, these are the practices that truly support heart health after 70. Healthy aging is not about running more tests. It's about making smarter decisions based on how you feel, not just what machines detect. Sometimes, the best form of care is choosing not to intervene. Number 4, the pitfalls of routine colonoscopies. The fear of colon cancer is understandable. It often creeps in without any symptoms. And when signs do show up, it can feel like it's already too late. That's why colonoscopies have long been promoted as essential for early detection. But there's another side to the story, especially after age 70. Many seniors aren't told that at a certain point, this test may become more harmful than helpful. Let's start with the sedation. Colonoscopies require you to be fully sedated, and while that might sound like a simple part of the process, it carries much higher risk for older adults. As we age, our bodies don't process medications the same way. The liver slows down. The brain becomes more sensitive. This makes seniors far more vulnerable to something called postoperative cognitive dysfunction, lasting confusion, memory fog, and slower thinking that can linger for weeks. Then there's the bowel prep. It's often one of the most dreaded parts. You're asked to drink large amounts of powerful laxatives to completely empty your intestines. For a younger person, it might just mean a rough evening. But for someone over 70, this process can lead to severe dehydration, drop your blood pressure, and disturb your kidney function. Some seniors even become weak, lightheaded, or suffer bathroom-related falls in the middle of the night. That's not just unpleasant, it can be dangerous. But perhaps the most overlooked issue is the timing of benefit. Colonoscopies are meant to detect polyps that may take 10 to 15 years to become cancerous. So, if you're in your mid-70s or 80s, and you've already had one or more clean colonoscopies in the past, chances are very slim that a new screening will prevent any real danger. What's more likely, experiencing a complication like bleeding, infection, or even a perforated intestine? Take the story of Mr. Harold Green, a 79-year-old retired mechanic. At 65 and 70, he had clear results from 2 colonoscopies, but at 79, during a routine checkup, his doctor suggested doing another one just in case. During the procedure, a rare but serious complication occurred, a small tear in the wall of his colon. It required emergency surgery, and Harold spent nearly a month in the hospital. He survived. But things changed. He lost stamina. He stopped going on his morning walks. And he often said, "I wish I'd asked more questions before agreeing." His story is not unusual. Many seniors continue to undergo screenings simply because it was helpful decades earlier. But aging changes the equation. What once saved lives can now reduce quality of life, and that's something every older adult should think about. The goal now isn't just to prevent illness, but to preserve mobility, mental clarity, and emotional peace. Of course, if you're experiencing symptoms like unexplained weight loss, stomach pain, or blood in your stool, a diagnostic colonoscopy might still be necessary. But in the absence of symptoms and with a clean history, repeating the procedure might offer very little benefit and very real risk. At this stage of life, responsibility looks different. It's not just about saying yes to every test. It's about making informed choices based on your body, your history, and your goals. You deserve care that protects your well-being, not just your chart. If you're still here and this information resonated with you, Please comment the number 4 below to let us know you're watching. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a chance to age with clarity and confidence. Number 5. Overuse of routine cardiac stress tests. There's something deeply unsettling about heart disease. It feels unpredictable, like a quiet storm waiting to strike. We've all heard stories of people who seem perfectly fine one day, only to experience a heart attack the next. So it makes sense that many older adults are drawn to any test that promises to detect trouble early. Among these, the cardiac stress test has become a familiar option. But here's what most seniors don't realize: if you're over 70 and don't have symptoms like chest pain or shortness of breath, a stress test may do more harm than good. The theory sounds logical. You walk on a treadmill, your heart is monitored, and any irregularities are flagged for action. But aging bodies naturally undergo changes. Mild artery stiffness, minor plaque buildup, or slower recovery after activity are not necessarily signs of disease. They're part of the normal aging process. However, stress tests can't always tell the difference. These age-related changes often trigger further testing. A stress test that shows even slight abnormalities may lead to invasive procedures like cardiac catheterization or stent placement. And here's the catch: many of these interventions are based on findings that wouldn't have caused harm in the first place. That's exactly what happened to Richard, a 75-year-old retired architect from Oregon. He had no symptoms, walked his dog daily, and felt full of life. But at his routine physical, his doctor suggested a stress test just to be safe. The result: a nonspecific irregularity that led to an angiogram. The test showed minor, non-blocking plaque. Still, a stent was placed more out of caution than necessity. What followed was a downward spiral. Richard developed complications from blood thinners, experienced internal bleeding, and was hospitalized for 2 weeks. It took him nearly 4 months to regain his strength. All this from a test he never needed, for a condition that wasn't dangerous. This isn't rare. The fear of missing a potential problem often overrides rational judgment. But at this stage of life, we need to weigh every medical decision against its impact on energy, independence, and quality of life. Leading heart experts now advise against routine stress tests in seniors without symptoms. Why? Because studies show these tests don't reduce the risk of heart attacks or improve survival in asymptomatic adults. In fact, they often open the door to a chain of procedures that carry their own risks, especially for those with aging kidneys, delicate arteries, or reduced healing capacity. What's more important is symptom-based care. If you feel tightness in the chest, unusual fatigue with mild activity, or dizziness, then by all means, seek medical evaluation. But if your body feels steady, if you're active, sleeping well, and enjoying your routine, that tells a story no machine can match. At this age, it's not about giving up on prevention. It's about practicing wisdom, preserving what matters most: your peace of mind, your strength, and your time. Getting older does not mean giving up control over your health. In fact, this stage of life is when you're finally equipped with the wisdom to ask the right questions, to pause and reflect. Is this really necessary for me? In a healthcare world that often pushes for more checkups, more scans, more pills, it takes true courage to consider less. Not less care, but more intentional care. Sometimes, doing less is not about neglect. It is about discernment, about understanding your own body, your personal values, and what you truly want from the years ahead. When you're in your 70s and beyond, medical decisions should not be dictated by automatic protocols designed for people half your age. They should be guided by conversations centered on you, your goals, your comfort, and your quality of life. The hard truth is that the medical system isn't always designed for the needs of older adults. It's built to find disease not necessarily to preserve vitality. That's why it's easy to get caught in a web of unnecessary procedures, tests that lead to more tests, treatments that may cause more harm than benefit, and outcomes that offer little improvement to your everyday living. Saying no to certain tests is not being careless, it is being wise. It means asking if the procedure will genuinely change your future or simply add more stress and risk. It means understanding that not every finding needs fixing, and not every test leads to clarity. Some lead to confusion, worry, and even unnecessary suffering. At this age, time, peace of mind, and independence are treasures. You deserve to protect them. Ask your doctor, will this test really help me live better? And is this choice aligned with my values? Not just my fears. You've earned the right to slow down, to reflect, and to make decisions with clarity, not panic. Health is not just about preventing disease. It's about creating a life you love, one filled with energy, presence, and purpose. So rather than living in fear of what might go wrong, start investing in what feels right for you. If this video gave you something to think about, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment below and share one insight that stood out to you. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing and tapping the bell so you won't miss our future conversations about aging with wisdom and strength.